Okay, good morning, everyone. Good to see all of you. Welcome to our crosswalk and MOU training. If anyone does have any questions, feel free to put those questions in the chat. Myself, Laura, and Kim are hosts for the training this morning. We'll have the ability to view the chat as it's going on. We'll save some of those questions for the end, depending on when it's appropriate to answer them. We'll also have time at the end to answer any and all questions that people might have relating to the topics that we cover. With that being said, our agenda, I'll go over the crosswalk here at the beginning and then cover the dual credit MOU. And then we'll have the dual enrollment MOU covered by Kim and Kyle, our colleagues from the Fort Wayne campus. And then at the end, we'll have our new MOU, which we discussed at our two-day meeting at Turkey Run last week, the Indiana College Core MOU. Laura will just provide a brief overview for that as well, for people who may not be familiar with that. So just to start off here, we have the dual credit crosswalk. Anytime anyone ever needs to link or view the dual credit crosswalk, it is in the K14 Google folder. You can view it, you can share it out with any and all stakeholders that you feel is necessary for them to view. It's also linked on the Ivy Tech dual credit website that's available for open to the public as well. Anytime there is an update, I always send that out as well. I print off a copy or save a PDF and then save it or send it out to all the K14 directors, which happens somewhat frequently, just depending on whatever updates come across. So the top of the crosswalk, the first page of the crosswalk just has three different categories that you see up here. The first category on the left just has kind of an overall description of dual credit, talks about prereqs, also wherever there is ASOM policy. So there's ASOM 4.3, which is all of the college's policy around dual credit that is linked in it. There's also 7.1, the ASOM standard there. That is the faculty credentialing standard. So anytime you have a career center or high school that does ask about particular credentialing standards for a course or anything like that, you can click on that. So instead of maybe directing them directly to the program chair, you can at least send them that direction to give a basic overview of what's required for it. There's also a link to the core transfer library, which I'll talk about in just a minute. And then there's a new item on here, number 7, the Ivy Tech catalog, which has just come into effect in the last couple of months. All of the CORs, all of our degree pathways and certificate pathways, and pretty much anything and everything around curriculum can now be found in the Ivy Tech catalog. That link has been added as well. The middle column is just around the pathways that courses are associated with. So there are really two different tracks for that. You have the Indiana College Core, the 30 credit hour block that's fully transferable to all public institutions in the state of Indiana. And then we also have next level programs of study, which are the different CTE pathways that have been developed, with this year largely being the first year for most schools to implement NLPS. And then on the far right column, we have course prereqs. So a lot of courses just have the standard program readiness, different categories. So you have your reading, writing, and math. These are the standards that apply to the bulk of courses, but there are some nuanced situations. Some math courses have additional standards. Science classes, thinking of biology, chemistry, things like that, they have standards that go above and beyond that. But on the right-hand side of the document, you always see the course prereqs. Sometimes there's also going to be another course that's associated with it. So if you want to take, for instance, like English 206, you have to have completed English 111 beforehand. You'll see those types of things, or if there are co-recs in there as well. So Going on to the next slide here, we have different columns on the crosswalk. You'll see, and I'll show a slide here that shows, a snapshot of the crosswalk itself, but you'll see the program that the course is associated with. So if it's with, accounting to welding, anywhere in between, you'll see that program. You'll also see the course number. So for instance, you might have, English, but the course number will be, 111 right there. Then you'll have the associated credit hours that are with that class, which can range anywhere from a half a credit. I believe the highest one we have is a 7 credit hour course. Most of them are 3, but that will be there. Then you'll have the course title itself. So that's the Ivy Tech course title. And so those are all Ivy Tech sides. And then matching with it, paired with it, will be at least one high school course. In some cases, there might be 5, 6, 7 courses. You'll see the DOE code. So that's just the number that the Department of Education has associated with that particular course. So like 1006, I believe is English 11 for high school juniors. And then you'll see the DOE course title that it's with it. So then you would see, English 111, or not English 111, but English 11 in that case right there. Then we have the column for the credentials. So is it part of the Indiana College Core? Is it an LPS pathway? And then the prereqs right there. Now, one question I frequently get since I've taken over management of the crosswalk is, how do we add a course to the crosswalk? People say like, I really like to have this course added, or, it'd be great if we could, add X. Well, it's a bit of a lengthy process. In some cases, it can take upwards of a year to add a course to the crosswalk. The first thing that has to happen is it has to be brought up by the curriculum committee itself, or brought to the curriculum committee. All the curriculum committees meet in the fall. In probably half the cases or more, that's the only time they meet. They'll meet once a year. And so they start in September, they go through November or so. But if you have, or if, a program chair wants to add a course to the crosswalk and it's December and the curriculum committee does not meet until September, you're going to be waiting a little bit of time before that happens. In extraordinary circumstances, there can be an email vote that's taken, but generally speaking, they want to have a face-to-face or a Zoom discussion over that to hash out any things that they might have. So after that is brought before the curriculum committee, they have to take a vote on it, has to achieve a majority vote to move forward. After the curriculum committee votes on it, it is not added to the crosswalk. And this is sometimes a little bit of confusion for program chairs too, because it will be like, well, we voted on this. And even then, when that happens, that vote still has to be presented before the Chief Academic Officers Committee, or CAOC. So this is made up of all the Vice Chancellors of Academic Affairs. Those are the individuals that actually vote on those proposals. But CAOC often includes a lot of high levels of academic leadership in the college, a lot of systems office personnel. So it'll be presented before CAOC, and CAOC meets once a month. It's usually, I think it's the third Wednesday of every month. And so it'll be put on the agenda. The VCAAs will debate it. Sometimes it's just brought before, you hear a motion, a second, and it's approved really quickly. And then other times there might be some sort of dialogue that they would want to have, and there could be a 15-minute debate or more about it. After CAOC votes on it, if you get a majority vote on that, then it is approved and it's added to the crosswalk in that case. So you can kind of see the process that goes with that. If anyone ever does have a suggestion for adding a course to the crosswalk, please send that to me, and we can have a discussion about that, and then try to get that to the curriculum committee if need be. Just keep in mind, it needs to be aligned with some sort of pathway or outcome. So we want to have, intentional dual credit, not random acts of dual credit. And so it needs to be like within an LPS pathway or an ICC course. So other important notes about the crosswalk: to offer a course for dual credit needs to be on the crosswalk. I know in the past there have been some courses that have been offered off of the crosswalk, but that has largely been cleared up now, especially with the addition of a few classes this last semester for this coming academic year. So to offer a class for dual credit, it needs to be on the crosswalk. The crosswalk also has some courses that are in bold on it. Those are courses that are in the Indiana Core Transfer Library, which there's a link for that. So that's just, these are just courses that can be linked together and transferred among institutions very seamlessly. So for instance, our English 111 is a part of that. And then that is linked on the Core Transfer Library with IU's English W131. And you can pick any course that you want, and then you can see how it transfers into other institutions seamlessly. So it's a good link whenever you have parents asking about, how credits will transfer and stuff. If it's on the Core Transfer Library, it's a very simple process right there. An important note for something that will be changing on the crosswalk here. Right now with the course numbers, there is a link to the course outline of record, or COR, for every course. Those are on a Google Drive, and that Google Drive, all those folders are going to be taken down sometime in the next few months by the end of the year. And so when that happens, all of those COR links are going to go dead. And that is why we've added the Ivy Tech catalog link at the top. So when you click on that link, if you go to the Ivy Tech catalog, there is a column on the left that just says courses. You click that link, you type in whatever course you want. So you can type in English 111, and then the COR pops up. Those will be updated automatically, so we won't have to relink everything every year. So just be aware of that. That will be changing sometime in the next few months. Also, we've been getting some questions about seat time requirements. Just be aware of seat time requirements, 4 credit hour classes, 5 credit hour classes. Sometimes that can cause some trickiness if you have a trimester schedule, or a 5 credit hour class in a semester that just meets 45 minutes a day or something like that. Just be aware of those requirements, because if it's for dual credits, a college class with a college instructor, college standards, we would need to make sure the seat time requirements are met. And then also for your next level programs of study sequence, courses should be offered in the sequence of the principles class first, concentrator A next, concentrator B third, and your capstone courses being the final ones. And it's important, although we do not handle the money between the Office of CTE and the high schools and career centers, for courses to be funded by the state, they need to be offered in the correct sequence, which is part of the reason why we have that credential pathway column right there in the middle to help when you have those MOU discussions, make sure that you have the courses lined up in the correct sequence for students. And then also just make note that many NLPS courses have multiple courses in each sequence. So your principles class might just be 1 or 2, and then concentrator A could be, 2 or 3, concentrator B could be 2 or 3, capstone in some cases it's 4 classes. Just keep that in mind as you're building courses, and if it's fall or spring, full year, things along those lines. So what does it actually look like? You can see I just took a couple of screenshots here. The top half is what it looks like for an NLPS sequence. So I just took some accounting classes. You can also see that some of these courses fit in multiple NLPS sequences. So accounting 101, for instance, can be a capstone class for marketing and sales, but yet it's a concentrator A class for finance and investment for that NLPS sequence right there. So just keep that in mind. There are a lot of, I think Business 101 has the most NLPS a linkage. I think there's like 7 or 8 courses that it links up to, or pathways, I should say. But you can see where it has, the concentrator A or concentrator B courses. So in this example, if you were to build out an accounting pathway, I believe Business 101 is the first class for the accounting pathway. So that'd be the principles class. And then you'd want to do 101 as the concentrator A class, 106 is the concentrator B, and then 102 is this capstone. You'd want to make sure students go through that correct sequence. And then you can see the bottom half here of the crosswalk screenshots. These are some of the Indiana College Core classes. So here's a bunch of English courses. You can see the title of the class that we have as a college, and then the courses that they link up to. So English 111 links up to both English 11 and English 12, so juniors or seniors, depending on the high school and how they have courses built out. And then that checks off the written communication category of the Indiana College Core. And then for students to enroll in that class, they need to make sure they meet the reading and writing program standards. And then you can see the other courses below, and how English 111 is often kind of a stepping stone for some of those other courses. So with that all being said, all of that falls into, or is what is the foundation of your dual credit MOUs. And so just important, I want to provide a level set. MOU stands for Memorandum of Understanding. It's not like a legally binding contract between, 2 parties, but it's just an agreement of how, in this case, college credit will be awarded to high school students and the requirements that need to be met by the students and the high schools for that to happen. Dual credit MOUs should be reviewed and signed annually. It's good for 1 academic year. So for the school year, July 1st through June 30th, the same as the fiscal year. Whenever you do an MOU, generally speaking, you should try to put all of the courses that are going to be offered on that first main MOU. So that's all your full year courses, your fall and spring. Any course that is going to be offered for for dual credit should be on that MOU. Now there is an addendum MOU. So if for instance, or all of a sudden, a teacher resigns, you get a new teacher, you want to make sure that change is reflected in the MOU. You can do an addendum, and it's the same as the regular dual credit MOU, but instead of having 20 or 50 courses, it would just have 1 course on there. Sometimes too, you'll get a teacher hired in the middle of the year, and they want to add a course for spring. You would just do an addendum in that case. And then in other cases, you might have your MOU ready to go, but maybe 1 or 2 courses are pending. And so you go ahead and send out the MOU and then wait on the credentialing status of that last instructor, and then send out the addendum. The MOUs should be done by September 16th. That's the last day to have a course appear on the MOU. And then February 1st would be that final day if you have a spring addendum right there. You can send out the documents or the MOUs via DocuSign, and then we have the templates for both documents linked right here, and they are in the Google Drive. What does it actually look like here? Here's what I just took screenshots from the documents that are in the Google Drive. So you can see this is just all the standard language. The only thing that's changed on this is what's highlighted in green. You'll add your campus name, you'll add the school corporation and the high school or career center name. And then all of that is just the standard language that you see. This is a legal language that's required. At the bottom of the MOU, you have the Title IX statement as well, which is required by our legal office. And then you have here, this is the part that you'll actually modify for your own MOUs as you send them out. So I took this one from one of the ones I sent last year when I was with Columbus, and you can just see how, for instance, they have Ag 100, the Ivy Tech name, that's 3 credit hours, the DOE code, the high school name, and then who the instructor is, and then the term that it's offered. It's very critical that you have the term listed on this as well. You want to make sure if a course is going to be, if you have some courses that are maybe duplicated and one is spring and one is fall, you'll want to list the course twice on there with the difference in term. It might have probably have the same instructor in that case, but you'll want to list it out multiple times, so that way whenever you start building your courses, this document will be a go-to for you to reference as you go forward. And then the document has signatories for 5 individuals, the principal and superintendent for the respective K-12 partner, and then the director, the VCAA, and the chancellor should sign it as well. So with that being said, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and then I'm going to hand it over to Kim and Kyle, who will share their screen and let them go through the dual enrollment MOU part for themselves. Okay.
Thank you, Mark. Good afternoon. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. And Kyle and I will be presenting the overview of the dual enrollment MOU process. I would say a couple years ago, we worked with systems office leadership as well as our finance department colleagues to best come up with a process and working with them. So I'm going to kind of start with the why. Having a dual enrollment MOU allows K14 departments to work efficiently and effectively with the billing process. It ensures a seamless transition and that workflow between our office as well as the finance and the Bursar departments. It ensures an accurate bill that are generated and that billing process that aligns to that MOU, so that third party billing specifically with our school partners to make sure that is accurate and timely. If it's self-pay with students, that is outlined, or if there's a combination between a scholarship or a foundation scholarship that is paying for the student, this allows I'm going to say that cleanliness to that MOU on knowing who's paying that bill and how that's going to be invoiced. It ensures a standardized process across all campuses, which is important, knowing that some finance and Bursar offices support multiple campuses in their work and support those different service areas. And then important, right? Our relationship with our K-12 partners and those high school students we serve. It provides that clarity that they know who's paying and reassures those parents that, you know, someone at their school and within that school corporation is covering the cost of the coursework. So there we go. Did I skip one? There we go. So I'm going to share my screen and show you the where within your My Ivy account you can find it. I have favored my DocuSign just because I use it frequently in review and signing things. So you can search DocuSign up in the sorry, I can spell, I promise. Area, then it will come up. You can heart it, so that then saves it to your favorites, and then it kind of opens up the area. Use company login, and then within the template, you can see kind of where it's found. And then I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and then Kyle is going to walk through the process of finding the MOU template, as well as a couple best practices we use here at the Fort Wayne campus in working with our school partners. So Kyle, turning it over to you.
Thank you, Kim. I'll pull this up here. Okay, so The next couple slides, I just took some screenshots over what I'm about to go through, so you have them just for reference. But it's really pretty straightforward. The only thing people get tripped up on, and I'm glad Kim showed you all where to find the DocuSign in your My Ivy. Once you're actually there, a key thing to remember is that you might have multiple DocuSign accounts depending on your role within the college. You'll need to click on your initials in the top right corner, and then you can see where mine says Ivy Tech Provost here. To find the dual enrollment MOU template, we wanted to make it available so anyone had access to it across the college. You're going to have to go to, or you might have to, I should say, go to switch account and then transfer over to the Ivy Tech Community College account that everyone has. So you may or may not have to do this step, but I just want to make sure you're aware of it. Click on your initials in the top right screen, check what account you're in, and then you might have to switch accordingly. If it just says Ivy Tech Community College, you should be good to go from there. Okay, then I'm going to click on templates. I'll click on all templates. I really enjoy working in DocuSign, so I'll say that first. If there's one real drawback, their search engine is not Google, so you do have to be a little bit precise in what you're typing. Dual enrollment MOU should suffice, and make sure you're searching in all templates, not shared and not my, because it won't come up. So all templates, dual enrollment MOU, and then you should be able to find it there. Click on the star so that it'll appear in your favorites, and then you really shouldn't have to search for it again, but just in case, you know that process. Templates, all templates, dual enrollment MOU, and then there you have it. So we're going to click on it, or you can click used in the right. First thing you'll notice is the amount of people connected to this. This can be edited in terms of the who receives a copy. Just depends on your campus, what your processes are, who's involved, so on and so forth. But for the most part, this is the boilerplate, just stamped. You can only really click use. The first role is most likely going to be the person who works with the college and the school directly. So what I have just dubbed the MOU preparer, for lack of a better term. In many cases, this is me when I'm working with my schools. I'm the one that knows how to put together the MOU, and then also what the school needs. I'll talk about how we arrive at those conclusions here in a minute. But just to walk you through these roles, the MOU preparer is the person that starts it. It does not necessarily have to be the person that's in DocuSign right now. For example, I could be the one that's going into DocuSign to retrieve this, and I could change it to our K14 director here on campus, Kim Wah, and this email would go to her, and she would go through the MOU itself and prepare the document. But just for now, I'll use my own name, so it goes to my email. Bursar, since we're not doing a real one, I'm just going to put my name in all of these roles so you can actually see this in real time. And then the optional CCs, this is if someone needs a copy. For example, like Kim will get a copy of a completed MOU, so she knows it's done. That way she can have it for her records if necessary. You can send one to academic affairs. You can send one to an outside party, whatever it needs to be. For our purposes though today and for speed, I'm just going to delete those. You can add a message if needed, but I'm going to hit send so you can see this again in real time. I'm being prompted here with this sign now versus sign later because I'm the one that sent it and it's picking it up. I'm the one who is the preparer, so I get the option to sign now. You might see on my screen an email come through from me to me and go to my Outlook. But we'll hit continue. For anyone who's worked a DocuSign before, it's going to be really familiar. These drop-down menus for the campus name, they all connect, so it'll remain the same. And same with the school partner. Oops. Notice it's auto-filling below. Before I go forward though, I'd like to show you how we get to actually filling out the MOU. So I'm going to jump over to what we call a key details document. So the key details are both the agenda and the minutes for a meeting we're going to have between Ivy Tech and the K-12 stakeholders. It could be the director of a career development program. For my purposes, I work with Garrett High School, and they have a pretty extensive dual enrollment agreement with Ivy Tech, where they're offering multiple completion pathways in welding, carpentry, and heavy highway certifications. So those meetings are pretty important to iron out what classes are being offered, when they're being offered, who's teaching them, you know, how many sections are being offered, all those kinds of things. And I'll show you that document here in a second, but this is why we use it. It's an easy visual. The discussion is really happening between what I refer to as the boots on the ground people like myself. And we can iron out all those details so that when it goes on to the chancellor and superintendent, who are truly signing off on this to make it official, we're all on the same page. So we'll go to the example here. And notice this is a copy. So if you edit this directly, you're welcome to do so, but I would encourage you to make a copy for yourself. You can rename it. What we do with this, 1 second, let me adjust the zoom on this. So what we do here is, in some cases, like I said, at Garrett High School, where they're pursuing an entire certification, or in some rare cases, a technical certificate, like at an early college, we identify the pathway that the students are on. If you're just doing a one-off agreement, you probably don't need this whole table, and you can just state the name of the class. The course sequencing that goes along with it, you know, again, for our purposes, we're talking full year, and in some cases 2 years out. You might be able just to do, you know, fall of 2022, and then state the name of the course, you know, welding 101, accounting 101, whatever it might be. But the really important stuff is to establish when classes are running, what's the start date for the fall and end date for the fall semester. I also identify fall breaks, significant, like Thanksgiving break, significant days off throughout the year that are planned for. So in case the course is being taught at the high school, you're not running into the issue of the professor didn't know when to show up, because the fall break for Ivy Tech doesn't always align with the fall break for the high school. Identify the meeting days per week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Is it all week? How many hours per week? Number of weeks, noting that the high school semester is 18 versus hour 16. If you're running, you know, the condensed version, or what we would call an 8-week course, for them it would be 9. That all comes into play when you're talking about a welding course and they need certain contact hours. Like for weld 100, it's 64, but for weld 108, it jumps up to 80. So you have some differences there that need to be identified and taken care of in order to meet those standards. Then some real basic questions, just kind of yes or no type stuff. Will dual enrollment courses still run in the event school partner delays, cancels, or calls for e-learning? That's directly from the MOU. Yes or no. Any required materials, you can outline those textbooks if needed. Any PPE equipment, if it's a course that requires it. Transportation, you know, who's covering that? Who's responsible for transporting students? Again, yes or no, identify, is it the school partner or is it Ivy Tech? Instructor, does the Ivy Tech program chair need to hire someone? In our case, we've had to do this. And so we try to get on these key details early so we can get them over to HR and start that hiring process, because the it's quite difficult in finding instructors. High schools find the same issues we do. And then last but not least, this is a little easier explained with the payment table, but understanding who's paying the tuition and fees. In some cases, it could be a scholarship, it could be a third party, it could be the school. They might pick up half. There's all kinds of scenarios that we run into. So we created a table to try to make sense of all those different charges and how they're broken down to make it a little easier on the Bursar folks. And then last but not least, it works just like the MOU where you have these signature lines. So I'm actually going to go back to this page. This is the example. We ran a single class, an accounting course out at Wayne High School. I know this is really zoomed out. Let's go up to 125 so you can see it. Again, we identify who's in the meeting, individuals present, when the meeting took place. For this, we actually did identify the certification pathway, when the semester or when the course is taking place, which semester start and end dates. We established that we are running on the Ivy Tech calendar, meeting days per week, course delivery method, hours per week, number of weeks, contact hours. We identify both spring breaks and how we're going to work around those. What we'll do in the event of a 2-hour delay. Textbook here. Transportation wasn't required because the course was taught in the high school. We identify the name of the instructor, and then how the school is paying for it. In this case, it was a scholarship covering 100% of the tuition and fees. And then we have the signatures of the instructor / program chair, as well as the dean, the high school principal, and then the superintendent. And so with this document, I'm then able to go into our MOU and really just take everything I need. When's the MOU effective from? That's the start and end dates we established. I'll just fill these in as we go quickly. Orientation, is it required? Is it or just they have the opportunity? Whose calendar are we on? Ivy Tech or school partner. The breaks and vacations, again, those are outlined in the key details, so we have those established. We're going to go on the Ivy Tech calendar. What do we do with an inclement weather? Ivy courses will not meet in this case. Transportation might not be necessary, or it could be up to the student or parent. And here's our legal language. Oops, did I skip over it? Didn't get to it. Okay. Yeah, I went through it. Course delivery methods. Notice these carried over from the top. Same campus, same school corporation. We know who the document was prepared by, myself. And you're going to see my name again and again because I put myself as all the roles. But we're going to scroll down to this section where we actually list out the name of the course. And you can do this however you see fit, but we want to identify what course or courses are being taught. It could be the whole CT or it could just be a one-off. And then last but not least, we're looking at how tuition and fees are broken down. We have this statement right here. All tuition and fees, including books, supplies, etc., are the responsibility of the student unless otherwise specified below. So after a lot of work and collaboration across the state, we came to the conclusion that we want this statement here so that in the event a student is not self-pay, then we have to fill out the table. So just as an example, we'll go through this and say that a scholarship is paying for it. And you'll notice that it can get pretty complicated, but we'll try to keep it simple. So for the accounting class we just mentioned, we'll say all tuition and fees because you have that option, but notice you can break it down by just about any type of charge you want. So for in the interest of time, I'm going to go with all tuition and fees. And once you select something other than, the select option, notice these boxes went away. Once I pick all tuition and fees, I'm then required to fill these out. So who is covered? I'm going to put all students, or it could be, seniors. It could be welding students. It could be, whatever it might, however you want to specify it. But in this case, I'm just going to put all students for simplicity. We're going to identify the responsible party. You're given two options. If it's the school partner, you can just move on. If you click other funding source, you're then given another box. And I'm going to put the I complete scholarship here. The other funding source, let's just say it's, I don't know, H&H accounting firm. They're looking for a pipeline of accountants. So they're willing to pay for all these students to take accounting 101 in this hypothetical. You want to do a percent or dollar amount? I know the Bursar folks are used to all kinds of different combinations. Some scholarships are going to cover half. Some are just, $200, whatever it might be. So in this case, we're going to go by percent and we'll click 100% covered. And these signature lines are here so that we know the chancellor and school partner are required to look at this page. So we put the signature lines in the middle of the document after the traditional MOU, and then also after this payment table here. And finally, and then I'll be done, the optional attachment. So we have one school that wants their charges broken down pretty extensively, and we offer a spreadsheet for them. And so that's where an optional attachment button can come in handy, is if we click on this, and then just like an email attachment, I can grab, whatever PDF and put it on this document. I would then click finish, and it's going to go on to the next person who's required to sign, which would be the chancellor. Okay, I'm going to go to this version. Does anyone have any questions for me? I know sometimes I can talk kind of fast. Okay, Mark, I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, thank you, Kyle. I appreciate you and Kim offering some of your best practices around dual enrollment MOUs. It's much appreciated. So last but not least, we have Laura Hayes here to talk about the Indiana College Core MOU.
Hello, everyone. Okay, this is some things that we discussed last week during our director 2-day meeting. So I just want to review for everyone else who's on the call. So the Indiana Commission for Higher Education is now going to require that we have an ICC MOU signed by all of the delivery sites. So I have the link here. It goes to, let me pull over my screen. Everybody see that Google sheet?
We can.
Okay. So you just want to make sure you can, let's do, we'll look at Anderson. So you need to make sure that for Anderson, you have the ICC MOU signed by these 3 high schools, by the corporations. Unshare. So once you've found those, then you are going to, and again, this is linked on that. You're going to use this MOU. I've requested a template go into DocuSign, but until that time, just please pull this out of the Google Drive. So it's pretty basic, like our other MOUs are. It just has the language around that they are partnering with Ivy Tech to offer the Indiana College Core and what that means. It's going to be signed by the superintendent and the principal, and then representatives from campus. So it's a little bit shorter. This is a 2-year commitment. but it can be canceled by either party at any time. The third piece that we need, so okay, so this is due on August 15th. Again, it's a requirement. And there is also an extension worksheet. It is optional, so you do not have to complete this year, but it would be helpful, I think, if you would, and I think it's definitely a best practice. So again, the link is on the PowerPoint that Mark is going to share. So, and I have also requested a template for this in DocuSign, but until we get it, just go ahead and use the form in Google. So you are going to add all of the Ivy Tech courses that we offer at the high school. And then you can let the high school fill in the gaps. So this particular high school does all of their math through IU-ACP. They offer Biology 101 through the College Board AP, and we know that that may not just be Biology 101, that could be 105 or 106. And then there's a CLEP exam in here as well that they could fill out. So they fill out the sections that don't run through Ivy Tech, and then again, superintendent, principal, and then campus representatives can sign that. Anyhow, it's going to give everybody the opportunity to ensure that all of the courses are going to transfer correctly, because if you're looking at something from IU and you're not sure the way that it transfers, the high schools are owning the course. They're telling you what they have on their IU MOU. And the MOU is going to be uploaded into a Google folder that we will hang on to for the Commission for Higher Education. Again, the worksheet does not have to be uploaded into that Google folder, but it is for you all to use as you would like. So does anybody have questions about that?
Laura, if you want to go ahead and just go to the last slide here, because that is, I think it says questions at the top. So yeah, if anyone has any questions now, either about the ICC MOU, dual enrollment MOU, dual credit MOU, the dual credit crosswalk, please unmute yourself. Now's a good time to ask. And then a reminder, there will be, with this PowerPoint, there's a link to the K14 Google folder. But if you go to the Google folder itself, you can see I took a screenshot here. We've added a new folder at the bottom that says trainings. And if you click on that link, it'll have the course building training that was done earlier in the month. And then this training will be added to it, along with the PowerPoint, the recording, all of that stuff will appear in there probably sometime before lunch today. So does anyone have any questions? Okay, well, hearing none, I did get in the chat a reminder from a director who said it would be worthwhile to mention. I think this is a great point. That in many cases, high schools and career centers will have multiple MOUs with you. So, and in several cases here, you could have a dual credit MOU, a dual enrollment MOU, and an Indiana College Core MOU. All three of those tying together. So do keep that in mind. In some cases you might just have the dual credit MOU only, but for some of your more robust partnerships, especially ones resulting in the Indiana College Core, if dual enrollment, a course or two is required to get that completion, you will probably have 3 MOUs in that case. So I see Joe has his hand up, so I'll yield the floor to Joe.
Hi, Mark. Just a question about the standard addendum MOUs. I was looking in DocuSign. Are those going to be requested to be in DocuSign like the dual enrollment and ICC MOUs will be?
I missed the first half of that. Maybe that was my speaker, but I see Kim shaking her head. Yes. Can you say that again, Joe?
Will the standard and addendum MOUs be added to DocuSign?
We can add that, the addendum MOU, if we want the template in there. So I don't think that's a big problem, but we can have that added. Rosie?
Did you say that this PowerPoint is going to be in the trainings in the repository?
Yeah, it'll be there when we're done with this
Okay.
here in a little bit. It's not up there yet, but it
Okay.
will be in the next hour.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, well, we appreciate you taking some time this morning to be with us and to be a part of this training. Also, I'd like to give a big thank you to Laura for helping with the ICC MOU part, and then Kim and Kyle for the dual enrollment MOU section of this training, especially sharing some of their best practices. A lot of great work coming from the Fort Wayne campus, and it's always great to share best practices out with the entire team. So thank you to all of them for their participation and helping do some work behind the scenes to make this happen. If you ever have any questions, just feel free to reach us via Teams. We have several Teams channels, or you can send us an email, anything like that. We are happy to help out however we can. So with that being said, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday.
Thank you.